News at 5.
A busy couple of months for state lawmakers has come to an end now that the 86th legislative session is finished. Here to talk about what lawmakers were able to agree on and where they fell short are Robert Henneke with the Texas Public Policy Foundation and Charlie Bonner from Progress Texas. Thank you both for being here.
Hi, Rebecca. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Robert, what grade would you give Texas lawmakers and why after the session?
I would give the lawmakers a B grade for this session. The major accomplishment, of course, was with both property tax reform and property tax relief. It's what Governor Abbott, Speaker Bonner, and Lieutenant Governor Patrick started the session with, and they delivered. $5 billion in property tax relief that's passed, and by decreasing the revenue trigger for local governments, that property tax reform will ensure that property taxes don't go back up as quickly. So that's the major accomplishment and what they brought home to the taxpayers.
Charlie, do you agree with that assessment, and what grade would you give lawmakers?
I think you have to take it issue by issue or assignment by assignment if we're going grade-wise. On education, I'd give them a B. There was real progress made, but we're working against years and years of Republican cuts, billions of dollars in cuts to education, and this one bill alone is not going to be enough to fix that. But when we see attacks on the LGBTQ community, that's an absolute failure. When we see attacks on reproductive health, that's a failure. Expanding Medicaid, failure. If we want successful sessions, we need lawmakers to focus on the issues affecting everyday Texans.
Robert, are you surprised by anything that passed or anything that didn't pass this session?
Well, in addition to property tax reform, there was some other major accomplishments this legislative session that we need to give credit to lawmakers for. First of all, in the context of public education, you did have some significant reforms. You had the inclusion of performance pay, merit pay for teachers that was included in there. You also had the inclusion of efficiency audits that will do an audit of school districts to see if they're spending our taxpayer dollars most effectively. Also credit to the legislature for ending forced annexation, allowing people to vote before they're going to be included in annexed into a city government. All of those were additional wins that were good things that happened this legislative session.
Charlie, were there any surprises, specific surprises or disappointments for you?
I think one of the really disappointing things for me was not as many LGBTQ bills as we could have passed. We had some really positive legislation, that brand new LGBTQ caucus, the most out members ever serving, and they had a real proactive agenda that could have helped a lot of Texans live their authentic lives, and not enough of those bills got passed. And instead we saw things like the so-called Chick-fil-A bill get passed, which is opening the door to discrimination against more Texans. And as an LGBTQ Texan, I can tell you the rhetoric of this legislature has lasting ramifications far past whatever bills they pass.
And Robert, what about you?
Well, I think where it fell short was on the budget. You know, the legislature overspent this budget. You have 12.5% growth in spending, over $10 billion beyond what we at the foundation saw as what should have been the cap on a conservative Texas budget. You know, that growth in spending is going to have long-standing repercussions, and it's going to make it a challenge for lawmakers to really stick to the property tax relief that was passed this session. So that's going to be a challenge coming up. That's one of the areas that we see that lawmakers fell short, was in the amount of spending that was approved in the budget.
We're just about out of time. Charlie, final thought.
I think this has major ramifications going into 2020. Democrats only need 9 more seats to pick up to take back that Texas House, and people are going to be looking really closely at this session when they make those decisions next year.
All right, Charlie, Robert, thank you both for coming in and sharing your perspectives with us tonight.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.